Okay, for section 2, we're going to talk about how to convert degrees to radians and radians to degrees. We're also going to talk about how to find the exact values of sine and cosine given an angle measurement, and how to find the length of an arc using the formula. So, for the first part of these problems, you see it gives you the degree measurement, and I'm converting to a radian. When I'm doing that, I have to multiply by pi over 180. Number 1 has been started for you, so 30 times pi radians is equal to 180. So I'm going to take 30, I'm going to make it a fraction over 1, and I'm multiplying by pi over 180. When I do that, I now need to simplify 30 divided by 180. So 30 divided by 180. Then I need to press math to a fraction, which gives me my solution in fraction form, which is how I need to leave it, and pi needs to go on top with my solution. So 1 pi over 6 is my solution, which simply gets written as pi over 6. So for problem number 3, I have 300 degrees. I'm going to make that 300 over 1, and I'm going to multiply by pi over 180. Now I need to simplify 300 divided by 180. So 300 divided by 180, math to a fraction, gives me 5 over 3, but I need to make sure that I put pi in the numerator for my solution. So 5 pi over 3 is equivalent to 300 degrees. Now I can also do this same type of problem with radians, and I can convert that to a degree measurement. So for problem number 7, I have 2 pi, and I want to convert it to a degree measurement. So I'm going to make that 2 pi over 1. For these, I need to multiply by 180 over pi. I want pi in the bottom so that it will cancel with my 2 pi that I started with. So now I'm left with 2 times 180. So my solution is 360 degrees. For problem number 8, I have 2 pi over 3. I'm going to multiply it by 180 over pi. When I do that, my pi values cancel, and I have 2 times 180 divided by 3. So 2 times 180 gives me 360, divided by 3 gives me 120. So 120 degrees is my solution. Now, to find the exact values of sine and cosine, I need to make sure that for these problems, my calculator is in radian mode. That's because all of these problems have a pi in them. If they have a degree, so let's say that I ask you to find the sine and cosine of 300 degrees, then my calculator would need to be in degree mode. But for the problems that are given, all of them are in radians, so we need to make sure our calculator is in radian mode. So, if you press mode, it's right beside the second key, and we need to make sure that radian is highlighted. So, if you press your mode key here, we need to make sure that radian is highlighted, which it is. So, all of these, I'm just going to use my calculator. So I'm going to find the sine of pi. So I'm going to press sine, and then second, what I call the caret key, which is right here, gives me my pi, gives me a solution of 0. So my sine gives me a value of 0. Cosine now of pi gives me a value of -1. Now, if you want to write these solutions as ordered pairs, as an x and y coordinate, you have to remember that cosine comes first, sine is second. So, if I'm going to write it as an ordered pair, I need to make sure that when I do sine of 3 pi divided by 4, I have to remember that 0.707 is the same thing as the square root of 2 over 2. That goes in place of y. And then I need to find the cosine of 3 pi over 4, which is also going to give me the square root of 2 over 2, but it happens to be negative. So all you're doing here is typing these in your calculator. You have to make sure that you remember that 0.707 is equivalent to the square root of 2 over 2. And then if I have 0.866 with some more decimals, it's equivalent to the square root of 3 over 2. So for number 12, if I find the cosine of 4 pi over 3, so when I type in the cosine of 4 pi over 3, it gives me negative 0.5, so that's negative 1/2. So that's my cosine, which is an x value. Now I'm going to find the sine of 4 pi divided by 3, which gives me negative 0.866. So that would be negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so for the last part of section 2, we're going to talk about how to find the length of an arc of a circle. So here I've written your formula, S equals r theta. S is the length of the arc, r is the radius of the circle, and theta is the angle measurement in radians. It has to be in radians in order to use the formula. So here for 17, they started the problem for you, S equals r theta. They gave me r, they gave me theta. All I have to do now is simplify. So S is equal to 2 pi. So 2 pi is equivalent to 6.28. So here for 18, they haven't started it for me. S equals r theta is my formula. S is what I'm solving for. They gave me a radius of 7 and a theta measurement of 3 pi over 20. So I can type this in my calculator all at one time. 7 times 3 pi divided by 20 gives me a measurement of 3.29, which we can round to 3.3.